Those who wants to print. Okay, we are live. So good afternoon, Facebook folks. Archie, good to not really see you, but know you're seeing us, and whoever else might be behind that lens. Welcome everybody here. So I guess we're into December and it's harder to come. I don't know. Not sure what's going on, but that's okay. There's still 57 of us here. Facebook will never know. All right. Today we're going to finish the first round of dialogue with Job and Zophar. We'll get through chapters 11 through 14. And as we'll see, there's no reason to slow down. There's reason to speed up. Once we get into the second dialogue and the third dialogue, we might actually take them both together because. Chapter 17? No. What? Not yet. So we'll get there. You're just ready to go, aren't you? Okay. Well, all right. Well, before we start reading and talking about Job a little bit, let's take time to pray. God in heaven, thanks for the day. And thank you that we can again come and read your word, talk about your word, understand what you want us to understand, know you. So, God, as we go through these next chapters in Job, I pray that you would reveal who you are and what you want us to know about you today. So I ask it and I pray it in your name, Jesus. Amen. Okay, so we come to a guy named Zophar, chapter 11. Some of these names are great names for dogs. You know, if I ever have another dog, it might be Bildad or Zophar or I don't know. Who knows? So we're introduced to Zophar. Zophar is likely the youngest of the three, which is why he speaks last. The ancient societies were very much respect elders, and they spoke first, and you listened, and if they allowed you to speak, you did. If not, well, then you just stayed quiet. So I think probably Bill and Bob here, Gary, just Bill and Bob sounded better. They'd be our elder statesmen here, so we'd have to let them ask questions first. So Job insists, last time, Job is insistent upon his uprightness. And he is... He knows that what's happening to him is not a direct result of his personal sin. He hasn't sinned that bad that this bad should happen to him, kind of thing. So Zophar begins. I'm going to read not from NIV or any version necessarily. I'm going to read a version of, this is the book of God and Man I was talking about. And so Robert Gordis, it's his translation. I just like his translation a little bit better. So normally I'll read NIV, but for this one I really like this translation. So Zophar the Naamathite answered, saying, "Shall a multitude of words go unanswered, and a man full of talk appear in the right? Your rantings force men to silence. You mock the truth with no one to shut you up. As you say, my doctrine is pure, and I am pure in your eyes. But oh, if God would speak and open his lips to you and tell you the secrets of wisdom, for there are mysteries in understanding. Then you would know that God is exacting less from you than your guilt demands." I like that. Zophar is pretty clear to say, Job, you think you're right? You think you're righteous? You think that this hasn't anything to do with your personal sin? Job, you're just a poser. You're a talker, man. That's all you're doing is hot air. Job, if you knew what God knew, you would understand that you're getting exactly what you deserve. So Zophar is really saying God's not punishing you, or God is not punishing you unjustly. You're getting everything you deserve because Job, There are secret sins you have that only God knows about. So come clean, Job. What aren't you telling us? Right? It's like putting a guy uh, in the interrogation room and making him confess to a murder he didn't do, just because there's all that pressure on him. That's what his friends are doing. Job, fess up. You have secret sins that you're not telling us about. Don't think God doesn't know. Clearly, he does, because you are getting punished for it. Um, I just crazy the way these friends, they're accusers, right? It's just crazy, And I like verse 5, the way, but oh, if God would speak and open his lips to you and tell you the secrets of wisdom. Man, if God showed up today and God told us what you're doing, and then you would recognize that you're getting everything you deserve and even less, right? He says, even less. You're not getting all that you deserve. So, Job, be thankful you're not getting everything you deserve, but you should fess up to what you do deserve. So, again, it's just that Deuteronomic or retributive theology. Verse 7. Can you penetrate the essence of God? Can you discover the nature of the Almighty? It is higher than heaven. What can you do? And deeper than Sheol, what can you know? It is longer than the earth in measure and wider than the sea. If God seizes hold and imprisons and arraigns, who can hinder him? For he is well acquainted with worthless men. Ouch. Ouch. That's like going to your friend's place for lunch, and you get together with your buddies for lunch, and you sit down, and one guy starts saying, "You are a terrible sinner, you worthless so-and-so. Wow, thanks." Like, step on the tee box, right, and talk to the guys. Oh, man, there's no way you're going to have a good hit because you are worthless, man. Your golf game is worthless. Your swing is worthless. You're a sinner. You've got deep secrets that only God knows about, and you're lucky he doesn't strike you down with lightning, but glad you're here. Verse 10. If God seizes hold and imprisons and arraigns, oh yeah, who can hinder? He's well acquainted with worthless men. He sees their sin, though he pretends not to notice. But a stupid man will get understanding as soon as a wild ass colt is born a man. Ah, wow. That's the precursor to when pigs fly. Now, don't use that, all right? It's kind of crass, so, stick with the pigs fly thing. But verse 13, if you direct your heart aright and spread out your hands to him. So here's Zophar practicing what he knows of Deuteronomic theology. Job, if you just direct your heart aright, spread out your hands to him, if you repent, if there be any iniquity in your hand, put it away. Let no wickedness dwell in your tent. You will be able to lift your face free from blemish. You will be firmly set with nothing to fear. All your misery you will forget, recalling it only as waters that have passed away. Brighter than the noonday will be your world. Its darkness will shine like the morning. You will lie down knowing there is hope. You will make your couch and lie down in safety. You will lie down and none will make you afraid. Indeed, many will entreat your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail with longing, and escape will be cut off from them, and their hope will turn to despair. So Zophar's not much help, right? He's again a very big proponent of only the sinful are cursed by God. The righteous are blessed. And that's the way it works, Job. And that's the only way it works, Job. We know that. We've been living that. Our forefathers taught us that. We read that. That's the way it works, Job. You know it. I know it. So, Job, stop being a worthless, you just prattle on about nothing. You're wasting your breath. You're a bag of hot air. You don't know what you're talking about. You have secret sins. Let's face it, Job. In your heart, you're pretty ugly, pal. So just confess and make things right, because we all know that if you confess things and make things right, life's going to be brighter than it ever was before. You're going to forget what happened to you. It's going to be water under the bridge and you'll never think about it again, because your life is going to be so good that you'll never turn back and look back and you won't even care about what happened, because that's just how God works. Wow. That's as Deuteronomic as it gets, right? Uh, only the bad get bad, only the good get good. So Job, you're not an anomaly, Job. We know you're bad, but there's hope. You can be good. It's that Deuteronomic theology, when it's pressed into this kind of use, really leads to wanting to control God. This is the way God works, so you can control God. You can be blessed. You can make God do what you want him to do. You can make God make your life good, make your business grow, make your marriage better, make your art, your, what are those things that you put away for retirement? IRAs, that's the one. In Canada, they're called something different. RRSPs, Registered Retirement Savings Plans. Yes, here they're IRAs. I don't know. I always thought IRA was something in across the pond. But anyway, yeah. So, Deuteronomic theology applied strictly in every situation says, I can get God to do what I want him to do. I can get the result I want because I can manipulate God by my actions. Watch this. And that's health and wealth. What's that? Redneck's last words. Watch this, yes. Yes, you should pay attention and go, oh, this will be good. Okay. And my finger's on the dial of 911, so I'm ready. But yeah, so it's interesting. The third speech in the first round, really is really pointed. When we started with Eliphaz, it was kind of roundabout getting the discussion started. I'm not going to come right out and tell you you're an idiot, but I'm going to kind of implicate you that way. And then Bildad was a little more pointed, and here's Zophar, just clear as day. So, and you can imagine that Job, it twists him off a little bit. Job chapter 12. Why do my notes not have Job chapter 12? That's interesting. I could very well have just mislabeled it. I have 2 chapter 13s in my notes, so. Chapter 12, I'll have to correct that. So this is the most extensive speech that Job gives against his friends. As we'll see in the second round and the third round, the speeches are shorter, at least for Job anyway. So this is the longest and most extensive of all the dialogue speeches. And it really starts out as a very sarcastic response to his friends and their quote unquote wisdom. So again, it's poetry, and so the author uses sarcasm, and it's just wonderful. Again, I want to read from this other version. Then Job answered, saying, no doubt you are the people that count, and with you all wisdom will die. Maybe I need to be a little more sarcastic. No doubt you're the people that count, and with you all wisdom will die. Yes, I have a mind as well as you. I'm not inferior to you. Who does not know such things as these? I have become a mockery to God's friend, who calls to him and is answered, a mockery to the perfect saint. Right? So Job is like, yeah, you guys are so perfect. Yeah, nothing wrong with you guys. Man, when you guys pass away, all wisdom's going to pass away with you, because you have the corner on the market of wisdom. I mean, I don't know anything. You guys are the smartest guys on the planet. Whew, glad you guys are here. Boy, I tell you, I don't know what I'd do without you perfect guys. Me, a sinner, man, thanks for coming by, guys. That's Job's response right away. And then he goes into verse 5. And he's really saying, look, there's more to it than this strictly applied uh, traditional wisdom of the righteous are blessed and the wicked are cursed. So Job begins to expound a little bit and say, the evil are blessed and the wicked are, or the wicked are cursed, the wicked are blessed and the evil are cursed. Okay, I'm getting it wrong. He says, the evil are blessed and the wicked are cursed. Did I say that wrong again? The evil are blessed and the righteous are cursed. Man, I think I was sleeping when I put my notes together too. I think we should start over. Okay, the evil are blessed and the righteous are cursed. He says, look, it happens. It's all around us. And look how he begins to describe it in verse 5. He says, the unfortunate deserve only contempt in the opinion of the safe and secure. A beating is proper for those who stumble. You admit the tents of robbers are at peace, the dwellings of those who provoke God, of those who have deceived him. But, you say, ask the cattle to teach you and the fowl of the sky to tell you, or speak to the earth and that will instruct you, and let the fish of the sea declare to you. Who does not know in all this that the hand of the Lord has made it, in whose hand is life of every living thing and the breath of all humankind? Surely the ear tests words as the palate tastes food. You say, with the aged is wisdom, in the length of days is understanding. But I say, with God are wisdom and strength. His are counsel and understanding. So I went a little bit farther, but Job is really saying, look around you. Just take a look around you. Look at the way life works. It's pretty clear that in the tents of the wicked, there's blessing. It's pretty clear that those who are unrighteous still receive blessing. And it's pretty clear that those who are righteous are having bad things happen to them. Like, that's life, guys. Just take a look. Stop telling me all of your learned wisdom and knowledge, and maybe get in tune with the world, the way the world really works, fellas. Get your head out of the book and look around, and you'll realize that God's the God of all things, and good things happen to bad people. And God knows about it. And God's the author of it. So where are you guys coming from? There's more than just the retributive theology or the traditional wisdom. There's more to God than what we have determined he is. And so he goes on and he says, really, as I read the last three verses, 11 through 13, wisdom comes from lifelong learning. It's the aged who continue to learn who are wise. You aren't wise just because you're old. You're old because you're old. You're not necessarily wise because you're old, right? You've seen many people that they never get past junior high. I don't understand that, But wisdom comes with people who are ready to learn. They're lifelong learners. People who think they know everything and don't have to learn anything anymore, not very wise. They're probably folks you don't want to listen to or want to have in your accountability group or your, Bill says that's the nice thing about aging. You forget everything you learned. Yeah, well, I suppose so. Maybe one day I'll find that out. But yeah, I'm hoping Jesus comes before I get to find any of that out. That'll work for me. So then he says not only about lifelong learning, but he says wisdom is not limited to the aged. Wisdom comes from God and all who would seek it. So you can be young and wise because wisdom comes from God. We tend to say that, we get wisdom from life experience, and that's true. But that's one way. That's not the only way we get wisdom. Wisdom comes from God, more so than it comes from life experience. Okay? Life experience can teach us, okay, don't put your hand on a burner when it's hot. Don't do that. Or, when you're cutting tomatoes with a very sharp knife, keep your fingers out of the way. Wisdom tells you that, although we still repeat it. But that doesn't come just because of experience. Scripture is very clear that wisdom comes from God. Turn to Proverbs 1, 5 through 6. Proverbs 1. Remember, Proverbs is written to young men. Teenage boys, essentially, or preteens, is what Proverbs is written to. If only our teenagers would read a proverb a day for the rest of their life. If only we would read a proverb a day for the rest of our life, or half a proverb a day or something. I mean, there's only 31 chapters. You can do it in a month, right? A chapter a day. But Proverbs 1, Solomon says, let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. For understanding, proverbs and parables, the sayings and the riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. The purpose of Proverbs is to give wisdom to young men, particularly young boys. Here's how you live rightly before God and others. You don't have to do things wrong to learn how to do it right. There's a lot of things we do, but you don't have to do stupid things to learn how to be wise about doing them, right? That's the whole point of Scripture. Wisdom comes from God. So we have to be willing to learn. We have to be willing to add to our learning, to discern and accept from God. But very clearly, wisdom is not just from life experience. It's from God himself. God's the source of all wisdom, and he gives to all who ask. Look at James 1:5. This is even more clear. James 1:5. James writes, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. That's pretty clear. If any of you lacks wisdom, ask God, no matter what your age. If you're in your 20s, ask God for wisdom. If you're in your 30s, ask God for wisdom. If you're in your 80s, ask God for wisdom. And he gives generously without finding fault. I think if more people understood that reading the Bible gives wisdom, well, let me put it differently. Reading the Bible seeking God gives wisdom. Anybody can read the Bible just to read it. You aren't wise because you read it. It's seeking God. God is the author of wisdom. He's the originator of wisdom. And he says, if you want some, ask me. I'll give it to you. We stumble around life so often. And, I just don't know what to do. Well, have you asked God? Well, I don't see how God would help me in this. Really? Huh. And apparently you don't know God very well. So let's go figure out who God is. So we need to ask for wisdom. And Job is right in saying wisdom isn't just to the aged. Wisdom, someone in their 20s can be as wise or more wise than someone in their 80s because God is the originator of it. So we should seek that. So Job really uses those comments and phrases to say, fellas, you guys don't have the corner in the market of wisdom. In fact, I don't even see you as very wise right now. You're pretty useless. You don't know what you're talking about. There's more to the way God works. There's more to the way life works than you're seeing, than you're accepting. So, chapter 12, verses 14 and following. Job is going to go on to say, after he said, to God belong wisdom and power, counsel and understanding are his in verse 13, he goes on to say, and here's how it works. God does what he wants to do. His wisdom is not our wisdom. It won't make sense to you, doesn't have to make sense to you, because it belongs to God, not you. He says, what he tears down cannot be rebuilt. Those he imprisons cannot be released. If he holds back the waters, there is drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. To him belongs strength and insight. Both deceived and deceiver are his. He leads rulers away stripped and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties a loincloth around their waist. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows officials long established. He silences the lips of the trusted advisors and takes away the discernment of elders. He pours contempt on nobles and disarms the mighty. He reveals the deep things of darkness and brings utter darkness into the light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. He deprives the leaders of the earth of their reason. He makes them wander in a trackless waste. They grope in darkness with no light. He makes them stagger like drunkards. So as we walk through this, here's what he's saying. He's giving examples that God's wisdom doesn't conform to the pattern of our wisdom. And we can't expect God's wisdom to conform to the pattern of our wisdom. It shouldn't. If God's wisdom is compatible or conforms to our wisdom, then we have the wrong God. Likely, we're looking in the mirror and saying, oh, there's God. Okay, so Job says, look, God tears down. God imprisons. God brings drought. God brings flood. Wait a minute, those aren't blessings. God brings curses. Interesting. God is the God of both the deceived and the deceiver. He's not just on the side of the deceived, but he's on the side of the deceiver. They're both his. There isn't necessarily a side that God is on. Rulers and leaders are made to look foolish, and God leads them in foolish decisions. God leads them in foolish decisions. Wait a minute. God can do that? Sure he does. Religious rulers and advisors are made to look foolish because God leads them into foolish decisions. The noble and the mighty are made to be nothing. Now that is a statement because as Health and Wealth Gospel says today, so Deuteronomic theology applied the way it was being applied says, if you're noble and you're strong and you're rich, it's because you love God more than anybody else around you. It's because you're doing something right and God's blessed you. So if you got a great house, vast estates, all sorts of lands, then you're right with God. Like you are blessed by God. You're doing something right. But if you don't, you're doing something wrong. And Job comes along and says, the noble and the mighty, those we consider upright and righteous and right before God, he makes them to be nothing. It doesn't matter to God. They aren't rich and mighty and noble because they're righteous. They just happen to be rich and mighty and noble. And that doesn't mean anything to God. So that's a statement, right? I mean, Job is just blowing up this Deuteronomic theology. I'd love for Job to have a discussion with the Health and Wealth Gospel people. You know? Man. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. It looked like you were. He says, God controls the dark and brings darkness upon people. Wait a minute, what? God brings darkness upon people. See, we would say Satan does that. Well, if Satan's doing that, what's God doing? Watching? Allowing? Directing? He's sovereign. So when God is sovereign, and sovereign means in control of everything, The word allowing doesn't really fit necessarily with controlling. I'll allow it, which means I determine it will happen, right? We do that with our kids, right? They want something, we want to go somewhere. We'll allow that to happen. But what we're really doing is saying, okay, I'm in control of this and this will happen because I say so, not because you're exerting your will and I'm going to, let you exert your will upon me and I can't do anything about it. But, just say, yeah, okay, go for it. No. So in Job's thinking, in ancient Near East thinking, and more so needs in our thinking to understand that God is in control and God is directing. And his sovereignty means that, yes, we can use the word allow, but um, that doesn't give God an arm's length away from what's happening to me. God said yes. And in fact, God initiated with Job. And the scary thing is, will he initiate it to us? Yes. Not because he wants to harm us, but because he knows what he wants to do good for us. Right? He didn't say to Satan, yeah, do whatever you want to Job. I can't wait to see how harmed he is. This is going to be great. No. He says, go ahead and try to do something to Job, but he's not going to walk away from me. He's not going to curse me. I know him. I know his heart. Oh, yeah, I can get him to turn. Okay, let's see. And Job never does. So there's this control that God has. There's just, we don't like the word initiation, but there's this, God is giving permission with action, if you will, right? God is an active part of what is happening to Job. God is an active part of what is happening to us. We can say Satan's at work in our lives trying to destroy us, and that's true. But we also have to know that God is active in watching, giving permission, staying in control of Satan and saying, yes, you can do that to Gary. I'd rather think that God's over here saying, I really don't want you to do that, Satan. I really wish you wouldn't, but I guess I'll allow it just this once and see what happens. God never says, I'll see what happens. He's going, I know exactly the outcome that you don't know, Satan. So if you want to be defeated again, have at it. Let's get you defeated again, right? And I'm going to do it through my servant Job. And life's going to suck for him, and he's not going to like it very much. But in the end, he'll know me more, and he'll worship me, and I'll be glorified. And that makes a difference in life. So, I don't know, comments, questions on that? Because it's yeah, it's just because it's tied in with verse 17. He leads rulers away stripped and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties a loincloth around their waist. So God destroys and God brings back. He takes off the shackles of kings. Those who are led away stripped, he puts clothing on them. He takes away their shame, kind of thing. That's what's going on there. No, this is just, yeah, this is all have to do with being led away stripped. It's that shame, it's that, yeah, that complete helplessness kind of thing. Yeah. So Job is saying, God sometimes does not make any sense, nor does it follow any pattern, nor does it follow any well-developed theology. God is free to do what God wants to do. And he's not confined by my theology or your theology. He's not confined by, he won't do anything opposite to what he says he is, but he's not confined by our take and our teaching of what God can and cannot do, or should and shouldn't do. God will do whatever he wants to do. God is in control. He is the one leading the way. Yeah, he's the one who set things in motion. He's the one who created things. He's the one who continues to oversee things. He's the one who continues to protect and provide and heal and tear down and imprison and bring flood and bring drought. But he's also the one who restores and renews and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's a it's a bit of a different and harder way to look at God in some ways, isn't it? Because we like God to be a little more friendly. Because we want to be in control. Yeah, yeah. And I think when when bad things come into our life, Ray with a tumor, your stroke, your cancer, Bill, your health struggles, whatever bad comes into our life, we want first to find someone to blame it on, right? And we rightly and biblically can say Satan's at work trying to destroy me. That is true. But I think we lose a bit of relationship with God when we don't understand that God's right there. And he's not at arm's length saying, yep, I'm just going to see how this plays out. It was God who could have stopped it, God who could have said no, but God said, yes, yes. And that's active, right? God's never passive. And so when we view God as passive and Satan as active, there's things in our relationship with God that we miss. And we're not able to wrestle through with who is this unfathomable, uncontrollable, scary God that I'm dealing with. Because when we can say, oh, it's Satan doing this, then God's in the box, right? And I think we miss out on some comfort. I think we miss out on grace. I think we miss out on a deeper relationship with God. So it's harder to do. It's definitely harder to do because it throws us into a tailspin, right? Like, God, why are you doing this to me? And someone comes along, oh, no, it's not God. It's Satan doing this to you. Well, that's true, but it's also true that God's doing this to me. So, God, why are you doing this to me? Just keep walking. Just keep praying. Just keep trusting. I'm still here. You're right. You're right in saying I'm at fault here. You're right. I am. Thank you for letting me be God in your life. And thank you for hanging in there with me. And trust me, I'm God. I'll do something amazing for you. But right now, hang in there. Because what I'm doing for you is this. So grace comes in blessings and grace comes in cursings. Right? Just like I was saying with our divine, when we're divine healing, there is a grace that is to be had from God, even when God says, no, I'm not going to heal you miraculously today. There's still a grace. So are your hands healed, by the way? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To a degree. To a degree. I think you wouldn't say to someone you're not trusting, but I think what you're getting at, and we run into quite a bit is, and this gets us off topic, but it's kind of on topic. When people come up for prayer, for healing, I'll ask them, what do you want God to do? And many say, well, if God would do something for me, that'd be great. Okay, well, there's always a possibility that God will do something for you, but you came up. What do you want God to do? Like, what do you want me to pray? God, if you feel like it, if you can do anything, if there's any power in you to do that, then do something would be great. Like what? Do the dishes for them when they get home? What are you asking God for? So I want to be healed. You know, it's the craziest thing when Jesus asked the blind man, "What do you want me to do for you?" Isn't that evident? Jesus wanted to know, "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus, I would like more alms next week. Really? You don't want to be healed? No, I just want more alms. That's all. Well, Jesus, if you can maybe kind of help a little bit with my eyes, that might be good. I don't know. No. The blind man said, I want to see. What do I want you to do? I want you to heal me. I want to see. Not, yeah, whatever. Whatever your will is. Well, you're up here because you're asking God to do something by his will. You're saying, God, make it your will to heal me. No, he doesn't have to. But if we're going to ask something, ask it. We're not given a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of boldness. We're in front of his throne, his very throne, the all-powerful, mighty God. God, I don't want to bother you. I know you're busy. I know there's people worse than me. I know you've got a lot of stuff on your plate. But, you know, if maybe you could do something for me that would help today, that'd be great. Okay. You sure you don't want to be healed? No, I don't want to bother you with that. Ask for it. Right? Be the lady, the woman who goes through a crowd at the risk of her own life and limb and grabs hold of his garment because she knows he can heal her. So, yeah, that gets us into the whole realm of divine healing, and you know, that quickly moves over into, well, your faith isn't good enough because you didn't ask boldly enough. Well, it's not about how you ask or your boldness in asking, although there is boldness in asking. So, you know, we as human beings still want to try to control God by our prayers and what we say. And I want to say the right words, and I want to show the right humility, and I want to, you know, really? Why? Because I want to impress God enough so he's going to do what I ask him to do. Okay, well, it's not about that. He gave you faith to come forward. So in that faith, ask him. Doesn't mean he's going to say yes, but he's at least going to pour out grace. Anyway, thoughts, comments? Didn't say anything terrible.
There are so many layers to that. It's easy to see the grace when somebody's touched by God and they're healed.
Yes.
You have to look twice to see the grace and the joy of the Lord that the person sustains without the healing.
Yeah.
Which is the bigger grace?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you responded to that because yes. I don't know about, you know, the size of grace necessarily, but it's different grace. Yeah, it sure is. So yeah, there is. Sometimes you have to look very hard to find that grace, right? Because our mind, the way we think, the way we hear, the way people talk is the only grace you can receive is if you're healed. And if you haven't been healed, oh, you don't have any grace. Too bad for you. You just have to slog through it on your own. No. God's giving you grace to get through it, and a grace that maybe does something more in your life than if you'd been divinely healed.
The promise of I will never leave or forsake you is so present
Yeah,
when the healing touch doesn't come.
yeah, yeah. That's so very true. Yeah, and that's a perfect example. I think a modern day example of where our theology turns us into Bildads and Zophars and Eliphazes is this whole divine healing thing, and it's tough. We have to we have to stay we have to stay humble enough to say, in the end, I don't know. It's all up to God. I think I have a pretty fairly well developed path of walking through theology, but in the end, it all leads to God, and I have to just bow down and say, I don't know. It's all up to you. Yeah. So,
My daughter has a favorite saying of we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
And to have that encouraging side of walking somebody through a situation where they're not healed.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. We're all just walking each other home. Yeah. Yeah. So Job uses chapter 12, or the writer uses Job in chapter 12 to say sometimes God doesn't make sense. And we can't follow what God is doing. He's free to do whatever he wants to do. He doesn't have to act like we want him to act. Chapter 13, Job really gets into defending himself and saying, I'm just as wise as you guys are. You have nothing over me. In fact, you guys are all useless when it comes to knowing the wisdom of God. And he really just kind of says, so just shut up and listen to what I have to say. I think I'll read from this other version again. I took my bookmark out, so just give me a minute to find it. Chapter 13. Robert Gordis. And you'll only find it in this book. Most commentators will give their own interpretation. Most commentators won't use the NIV or NASB. I mean, they're biblical scholars, language scholars, so they'll just do their own interpretation, which I appreciate. It's like reading another version and going, oh, yeah, that's a cool way to put that. Or, their word choice is interesting. So chapter 13. Behold, all this my eye has seen. My ear has heard and understood it. I know what I'm talking about, guys. What you know, I know too. I am not inferior to you. Verse 3 of 13. But I wish to speak to the Almighty. I desire to argue my case with God. But you are all plasterers of lies. Worthless physicians are you all. If only you would keep silent. This would count as a mark of your wisdom. That's great. Even fools will look wise when they say nothing, right? That's kind of what he's saying. Verse 6, now, hear my argument. Listen to the pleadings of my lips. And he's really talking to God now. Is it for the sake of God that you speak falsehood on his behalf, that you utter lies? Will you show partiality toward him? Is it for God that you are arguing? Will it be well with you when he searches you out? Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't talk to God yet till verse 14. So he's still talking to his friends. Will you show partiality toward him? Is it for God that you are arguing? Will it be well with you when he searches you out? Can you deceive him as one deceives a man? Will he declare you in the right if you show partiality to one side? Will not his majesty affright you and his awe fall upon you? Your arguments and maxims of ashes, your rejoinders are of clay. Be silent before me, and I shall speak, and let there befall me what may. So he's really not happy with his friends. Says, you guys don't know anything more than I do. In fact, you guys might even know less, because you're fools. So just shut up and say nothing and try to pretend you're wise, okay? Let me tell you the way it is. Verse 15. He says, yes, he may slay me. I have no hope, but I will justify my ways to his face. I'm going to talk to God. I am going to argue with God. I'm going to go before God and go to court before God, and he might strike me down, because I know he's God and I'm not, but what have I got to lose? I have no hope anyway. So here I go. I'm going to argue with God. I love that. That's what David did, right? He argued with God. God, I'm not happy with you. God, you jerk. Why are you doing this to me? Like, that's okay. God's not going to go, oh, yeah, lightning bolt that guy because he called me a name. Anyway, 16. Indeed, he will surely be my salvation, for it is no flatterer coming before him. Listen attentively to my words, and let my declaration be in your ears. Now, if I could prepare my case, I know that I would be vindicated. But if God says, who dares argue with me? Then I must perish in silence. Spare me two things only, and I shall not need to hide from your face. First, remove your hand from me. Second, let not the dread of you terrify me. God, I want two things from you. Lay off and stop terrifying me. And very likely when he says, let not the dread of you terrify me, he may be speaking about his vision that he had in chapter 4. That vision of there's something came to me at night. It was a vision. It was a spirit, and I was terrified, and I didn't know who it was or what it was, and he spoke to me and said these words. I think that's probably what he's talking about. So God, leave me alone. Stop watching me. Stop having your hand upon me. And that's instructive, right? I mean, Job is suffering like he's never suffered before. Wickedness, evil has come upon his life, and he doesn't say, Satan, get away from me. He says, God, stop doing this to me. Remove your hand. There again, we just see what sovereignty really means to the ancient Near East. Everything is God. Everything. Yes, there's the adversary. There is, as we would call him today, Satan, but ultimately it's not by Satan's power, it's by God's. So then he says, after remove your hand and let not the dread of you terrify me, verse 22, then you may call and I shall respond, or I shall speak and you answer me. How many are my iniquities and sins? Let me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and consider me your enemy? Will you harass a driven leaf and pursue dry chaff? That you charge my past actions against me and make me inherit the sins of my youth? You put my feet in the stocks. You stand guard over all my paths and mark out limits for my footprints. So there he's saying, I know I have sin in my life. I get it. Why are you holding that against me? I asked for forgiveness. I made sacrifices. I've done everything I know how to be right with you, but yet you aren't right with me. What's going on? It's kind of echoes of Psalm 51, when David says, renew in me a right spirit, a clean heart. I know my iniquities. Yeah, you know it by heart. Yeah. And so David recognizes his sinfulness. He recognizes that he is not right before God. He recognizes that he's in a bad place, and he recognizes he has to repent. He has to admit to those sins and own them and repent of them. And Job is kind of going a little different angle. He owns them. He says, how many are my iniquities and sins? Like, just show them to me. If there's something that I have yet to confess, I'm ready to do it. Just show me. But I've confessed everything I possibly know. I don't have secret sins that I'm holding on to. God, why are you still my enemy when I've confessed everything I know? Like, I started when I was 2 years old, confessing when I said no the first time to my mom. So every sin I know of, I've confessed. God, what are you doing? Lay off, would you? Don't be so harsh on me. And then he goes on to verse 28. Wasting away like a wineskin, like a garment devoured by the moth. Man who is born of woman is few in days and sated with turmoil. Like a flower he comes forth and withers. He flees like a shadow and does not endure. Is it upon such a one that you open your eyes and summon to judgment with you? Who can tell the pure and the impure apart? No one. No one. So there's Job, turning to God, presenting his case, pleading to God, and saying, I can't. Not going to work for me. Oh, I guess I started into 14, didn't I? In the translation that this one, it's not well marked. So 14, we're in it now. Chapter 14 is really a lament from God, a lament from Job. Job is again appealing to God. His friends are of no help, no comfort, no wisdom. He's really ignoring his friends. They don't even exist right now in his thinking. Um, and so he's continuing to address God. And verse 1 through 4, which we read, Job reminds us that mankind's days are temporary. And not only temporary, but they're without adjustment or control on our part. All right, they spring up like flowers and wither away. They're fleeting. No one can add a day or take away a day. Verse 5, a person's days are determined. You've decreed the number of his months. You have set limits he cannot exceed. So it doesn't matter ultimately how many vitamins you take, or how well you work out, or what kind of youth serum you take or put on your face. Your days are numbered. So it didn't work for Bill, obviously. I mean, he's using oil of Olay for as long as I know him, and okay, maybe not. Bill's looking at me like, what are you saying, man? Don't make me come over there and whip you, boy. But that's such a great perspective. Our days are numbered. God sets limits on them. We cannot manipulate our days. Now, within reason, obviously, we want to remain in health, and we can, get to the limit of what God has for us. I think certainly if we don't care for our bodies, we don't ever get to the limit that maybe God planned for us and wanted us to have. But ultimately, nobody's adding great amounts of years to their life because they can manipulate God into it. So it's God who determines life, both its span and well-being. Let's look at chapter 14 and verses 5 through 12. God is the one who's in charge of life, and he determines its span and its well-being. In verse 5 of chapter 14, indeed, man's days are determined. His few months are fixed by you. You have set limits that he cannot pass. Turn away from him. Let him alone until he complete like a hireling his day. For there is hope for a tree. If it be cut down, it can sprout again, and its shoots will not fail. If its roots grow old in the earth, and its stump dies in the ground, at the mere scent of water it will bud anew and put forth branches like a young plant. But man grows faint and dies. Man breathes his last, and where is he? As water vanishes from a lake, and a river is parched and dries up, so man lies down and rises not again. Till the heavens are no more, he will not awake, nor will he be roused from his sleep. So Job is saying, God has fixed our life. It's all up to him. And it'd be nice if we were trees and we could sprout again, but we don't. And then he goes into some great words in verse 13. Oh, if you would hide me in Sheol, consume me until your wrath is spent, set a fixed time for me, and then remember me. If a man die, can he live again? All the days of my service I would wait till my hour of release should come. You would call and I would answer you, and I would answer. You would be longing for the work of your hands. For when you would number my steps, you would not keep watch over my sin. You would seal up my transgression in a bag, and you would cover over my iniquity. So there's Job's. He's appealing to God for some respite, appealing to God for some help. And in verses 14 through 17, Job gets this glimpse of hope for life after death. Now, at this time period, ancient Near East, there wasn't a well-developed theology or thinking about eternity. There wasn't really this idea so much about resurrection from the dead. There was a place called Sheol, the place of the dead, where everybody goes to. And there was a hope, and there was a concept of, a broad concept of God is the God of life just as he's the God of death. So God will be there in death for us. so we don't have to fear. But there wasn't the well-developed theology of the New Testament of resurrected bodies, of Jesus coming back and raising us from the dead. There wasn't that. There was just the sense of there's life and there's Sheol, there's life and there's death, this place of death, but God is in both places. So I know that I'll see God again because God exists in death also, but not necessarily this idea of I'm going to get a new body, I'm going to be raised from the dead, there's a new heaven and a new earth. There wasn't really that concept yet. And so Job is just beginning to touch on, that hope of, if there was just a way, God, that you wouldn't hold my sins against me, that you wouldn't that you would seal up my transgressions in a bag and not use them against me, then I know that in death I would be fine. Right? In chapter 9, he's wished for, if only there were someone who would mediate between us. Because you're God and I'm man, and I can't face you in court, but if there was an arbitrator between us. And he's looking forward to Jesus. Well, here he's, if only you wouldn't hold my sins against me, if only you would place them in a bag and throw that bag away, and then I could be fine after death, after life in death. And I would know that there's that hope of eternity, but I just don't know those things for sure. I know you're there, God, but the theology wasn't well enough defined. So he doesn't have that concept of resurrection. He just has the concept of there is life after death in some way. So it's a wonderful, this is kind of a glimpse of he's trying to think out the box, but he just can't wrap his mind around it because it's all new. It's like, when cell phones came out or whatever, and you're doing all this stuff on your cell phones. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around that. How does that even work? Remember fax machines? Like, how do I put something in here and across the country it comes out? I don't get that. How does that happen? I can't wrap my mind around it. Now we're like, oh yeah, because the electrical impulses and they do this and this. We got that. So Job is kind of like at the beginning of, he's seen a fax machine and goes, what? That is crazy. That can't happen. It can't work that way. I don't get it. I can sort of try to describe this concept of hope after death and life and resurrection, but I don't know. And that's where he is with that. But it's wonderful how the author, throughout the book of Job gives us these glimpses of, I'm looking for Jesus. I'm looking for Jesus. I'm looking for Jesus. Just amazing. Wonderful stuff. And so finally, he closes out his conversation with verses 18 through 22. He ends up dismissing the certainty of resurrection because he just can't comprehend it. He says, but as a mountain falls and crumbles and a rock is moved from its place, as waters wear away stones and a torrent washes away the earth's soil, so you destroy man's hope. You seize him and he departs forever. You change his countenance and send him off. His sons may grow great, but he will never know it, or they may be humbled, but he will be unaware of it. Yet his flesh will be pained within him, and his spirit will be in mourning. So he says, oh man, it just doesn't work that way. I wish it worked that way. I wish there was some sort of hope of resurrection from the dead or someone to arbitrate between us. I don't know how that works. I wish there was that hope, but golly, I know the way it works. As water wears away stones, as this is the way the planet works, this is the way life works. I just can't count on that hope. All I can really hope for is God to leave me alone so I have a bit of peace before I die and see God in death. That's Ecclesiastes too, isn't it? Like, Ecclesiastes is a pretty pessimistic book, honestly. And he ends it saying, the best we can do in life is fear God and do what is right and hope for the best. Because there's not that well-developed Jesus is coming again. How great it is that we have the cross and we can confidently say that Jesus is coming again. It's so wonderful to be able to read back into Job and not be reading Job and going, huh? Are you talking about the Messiah? What? I don't know. So to conclude the whole this conversation, this dialogue, Job has a sense that there's something more to God and something more to life and afterlife, but he can't quite figure it out. He just can't quite get there. He can't wrap his mind around the situation and how God is at work. But there's a longing that he has within him. There's a longing for life after death. There's a longing for recounting the way life works and a longing for understanding new wisdom that he's starting to receive from God and trying to understand this uncontrollable God that just blew out the box, and he's grasping to try to put it all together, and this doesn't fit anymore. Do I have two puzzles in this one box? Because this piece clearly doesn't go with that one anymore. What do I do? And that's kind of where he's at with that. So, and he'll get even more confused as we go along. But there is a time when he gets very clear, and then he gets a little confused again. But thoughts, comments, questions? Yeah. Well, that's Apostle Paul, right? Right? For me to die is gain. Oh man, I wish we understood that more. I mean, it's not gain for, it wouldn't be my gain for you to die, so don't go about doing that just yet, all right? But I mean, for all of us, our own death is such a gain. Man, like Paul is all for it. Bring it on. I don't mind. I'm looking forward to it. I know whom I have believed, right? I know he's guarding what I've entrusted for him. I am sure of my eternal salvation. I'm there. So why not go today? Because living in one more day, being beat up, being mocked, hurting, in pain, having a limp, not being able to breathe well, whatever, I would trade that an instant for being perfect with God. Don't do anything to increase your, yeah. But just to wrap our minds around that gain is amazing to me. I don't know. So Val doesn't like it when I talk like this, but I've lived a good 55 years. I'm good. I don't have to live 80. I don't have to be 88. If God says, Michael, 55 is where it's at, I'm like, whoo, start eternity, man. I'm there. I'm all right. But it's not Val's gain, so she doesn't want that quite yet. She doesn't want me to gain. How selfish is that? Oh, you better take that off of Facebook. So anyway, that's our study. So thanks. We will pick it up again in January, likely the first week in January. So whatever that's going to be, the 4th maybe. But I'll let you know in our bulletin and newsletter and that kind of thing. So, okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good